Okay, let's be honest. Who doesn't love fresh seafood? But there can be a really fine line between something that's totally delicious and something that's a little bit dangerous. So in this explainer, we're going to show you exactly how to stay on the right side of that line.
I mean, just think about it for a second. That perfect, salty oyster right on the half shell. Or, that delicate slice of tuna in your favorite sushi. Maybe it's a zesty ceviche on a hot day. It's an experience that's pretty hard to beat, right?
But here's the thing. That incredible taste can sometimes come with, well, invisible risks. So what's hiding beneath the surface? Let's break down what those risks are, and maybe more importantly, what you can do about them. All right, first up, let's talk about the most common issue here, bacterial contamination. And there is one particular culprit, one little invader that you absolutely need to know about. So let me introduce you to Vibrio. Now, what's interesting about Vibrio is that it's not something from, poor handling or a dirty kitchen. Nope. This is a bacteria that just lives out there naturally in the same coastal waters where shellfish grow. And since oysters are what we call filter feeders, they can actually collect and concentrate this bacteria right inside their tissue.
And the way it happens is actually pretty straightforward. You can see the pathway here. The oyster's just doing its job, filtering water. But while it's doing that, it ends up concentrating any Vibrio that's hanging around. So when you slurp down that raw oyster, you could be getting a pretty concentrated dose of that bacteria.
And if you do get enough of that bacteria in your system, your body can fight back with an infection we call vibriosis. The symptoms are, well, they're not fun. We're talking typical food poisoning stuff, and it usually hits within about 24 hours. Now, for most healthy folks, it's just a really rough couple of days, but for some people, the consequences can be way more serious.
And that's a really key point. That risk level, it is not the same for everyone. For certain groups, and we're going to talk specifically about expectant mothers here, the stakes get a whole lot higher.
Yeah, the difference here is it's pretty stark. What might just be a nasty but temporary stomach bug for a healthy person, well, during pregnancy, it can become a really severe risk and even potentially harm the baby. And that is exactly why agencies like the FDA have such specific, strong advice for expectant mothers.
So here's the crucial thing to remember. This is not just about oysters. No way. This warning applies to any seafood that isn't fully cooked. We're talking everything from sushi to dishes you might love like jjijiang. That's a raw marinated crab. Bottom line, if it's raw or it's undercooked, that risk is there.
Okay, but what if the problem isn't some invading bacteria at all? What if the bad reaction is coming from inside your own body? Sometimes it's your own immune system just kind of sounding a false alarm. And that brings us to a really important distinction: infection versus allergy.
And this is such an important question, right? Because a lot of us get these two things confused. Let's say you feel sick after eating some shrimp. So what's actually going on inside your body? Is it an infection? Is it an allergy? The answer to that question really changes everything. So if you look at this table, the key differences really boil down to cause and timing. An infection, that's caused by bacteria. It takes hours, maybe even days to show up, and it's mostly going to be digestive issues. But an allergy, that's your own immune system overreacting, and it is fast. We're talking minutes sometimes, and the symptoms often involve your skin or your breathing. Knowing which is which, well, it could be absolutely critical.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about the risks, but listen, this is not about making you scared to eat seafood. Not at all. It's about being smart. So let's get into your playbook for how to eat safely and with confidence.
All right, if there's one number you're going to remember from this, make it this one. 145 degrees Fahrenheit. That's about 63 Celsius. Why? Because according to the USDA, that is the magic internal temperature that kills off harmful bacteria, like our friend Vibrio. And you know what? A simple food thermometer is your absolute best friend for hitting that mark.
So let's just put this all together in a super simple 4-point safety check. Number 1, cook it thoroughly. Hit that magic 145-degree mark. 2, separate smartly in the kitchen. You gotta avoid that cross-contamination between raw and cooked foods. 3, source carefully. Know where your seafood is coming from, buy it from reputable places. And finally, number 4, know the signs. Recognize the symptoms of both an infection and an allergy. That's how you stay in control.
You know, I love this quote because it really gets to the heart of what we're talking about. True enjoyment of food comes from a place of knowledge, not from a place of fear. The whole point here isn't to scare you, it's to give you the knowledge to make confident choices so you can truly enjoy the food you love. All right, so let's bring it all home. What's the final bite here? What's the single biggest thing you should take away from all this?
Really, it all boils down to this. The goal isn't to stop eating seafood. For most of us, enjoying something like raw oysters is a calculated risk, and yeah, usually it's a pretty low one. But by understanding exactly what that risk is and how you can minimize it, you get to move from just hoping you'll be okay to knowing you've made a smart, confident choice.
So I'm going to leave you with a question to think about. The next time you're about to order seafood, what's the one question you'll ask yourself, or maybe even the restaurant? Armed with all this info, what are you going to do differently? Maybe you'll ask where they get their oysters from, or maybe you'll just go for a cooked option if you're feeling a little cautious that day. The point is, the power to enjoy your seafood safely, well, it's in your hands now. Thanks so much for joining me.